Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, we are back to our second lecture. Uh, I started the recording, so you guys can go ahead and enter your names in the chat box. And secondly, I would also like to tell you that for this week, we might continue with the Zoom, but from the next week, we are going to start with the Google app. And in that, the G Suite is created in such a way that if you are not present at the given point of time, you cannot mark your presenting for the lecture. Okay. If there is any issue from my side to join the lecture, then I can understand. If you guys are having any issue, you have to let us know. Okay, because we have to send the report accordingly. Because you guys joining the lecture, few of you people joining the lecture 10 minutes, 15 minutes later doesn't make any sense, right? So you have to make sure that you join on time. Okay. And we always tell you, even there is 2 minute of difference, 1 minute difference, we tell you in advance that join at this time or the little later or something like that. So I tried moving back to our topic. So this was just I wanted to tell you. Moving back to our topic, study topic, I tried that virtual clinical trial website, but then somehow it is not working. The Flash player we might have to install or something like that, but it is still not working. I'll try. I'll ask my friends if they can find out any solution for that. Then we will continue it accordingly. Okay. So I thought then that we'll continue with the DNA sequencing chapter. So the first 3 to 4 lectures of DNA sequencing, we have learned about what is the principle of DNA sequencing, and first two methods that were ever generated for sequencing the DNA, that is first generation sequencing. We had learned that. So in that we have Sanger sequencing, and then second we have is Maxima Gilbert sequencing. So this two method along with the principle of DNA sequencing we have already learned, right? So after that, so there comes the second generation sequencing and third generation sequencing. But I thought before that we can learn about the probes, DNA probes and RNA probes. What are probes? What are its significance? And how do you synthesize those probes? And then accordingly we'll go ahead for looking into new generation sequencing, because new generation sequencing is little difficult to understand. So we'll do it later. So, what are probes? What is DNA probe, and what is difference between DNA and RNA probe? That is what we'll be seeing today, as much as we can finish in the 40 minutes sector. So, for diagnostic tests, the agents that is used to detect the presence of a molecule in the sample will be called as a probe. So a DNA sequence that is used to detect the presence of a complementary sequence by hybridization with a nucleic acid sample will be called as probe. Okay. So moving on, nucleic acid is nothing but your DNA and RNA. So hence together we give it a name as a nucleic acid probe. Okay. So what is a probe? A probe is normally a short sequence of nucleic acid bases that will bind to specific region or of a target sequence of a nucleotide. For example, if I have this DNA, double-stranded DNA, for example, and I want to analyze the bases that are present on a single strand of this DNA. Okay, so I'll be synthesizing it and I will make it single stranded. Then I can make use of these probes, which are going to be short sequences of DNA, but they are going to be labeled. Okay, they are going to be labeled. Okay, so once this DNA, if it is complementary with this particular DNA strands, and this binds to this particular DNA, right, and it is labeled, then it will be very easy for us to identify this particular segment of DNA, and that is what the role of this labeled DNA is. Okay, so a probe is normally a short sequence of nucleotide bases that will bind to specific region of a target sequence of a nucleotide, and it is always going to be labeled so that we can always find out where exactly your probe has attached to the DNA. Okay, so I'm just clearing this. So the degree of homology between the target and the probe result in stable hybridization. So whatever we had over here, this single-stranded DNA and this complementary probe which is attached to this will be called as a stable hybridized product. Okay, I'm just labeling this as a P because this is a probe of DNA which is complementary with the single-stranded DNA in which we are interested. Okay, so that is what the probe is. So probe is basically going to act as a short region which is going to have the complementary bases which are there on the target DNA or the sequence of the DNA or the DNA you want that probe to get attached to, and it will make a stable hybridized product which will give us a signal, right? So moving on, what are the sizes of the probe that we have? Probe size. So probes can range in size from a short as in 10 nucleotide bases, molecular weight of 3,300 to as long as 10,000 bases, or more molecular weight of 3 lakh 300,000. Okay. So the most common size range for most probe is between 14 and 40 bases. And for statistical uniqueness, a minimum of 20 nucleotide bases are usually needed for a probe. Okay. So generally, we do not use very long probes which are of 10,000 or 20,000 base pairs or something like that, because then it becomes very difficult for you to have a product which will be stable in nature. But still, for certain experiments, we do end up using long bases for probes. But the generally that we use for the day-to-day experimental purposes is the short probes that we have, okay, which range in size between 14 to 40, and the most common one is 20 nucleotide base pair. So which probe is best, short or the long? So the short probes tend to hybridize nucleic acid at a very high rates in minutes. So the reaction happens in minutes over here. So whereas long probes may require reaction times of hours to achieve a stable hybridization. So you need uh, in longer probes, very simple, you need more amount of time, much more longer period of time to achieve the stable product, whereas this reaction with the short probes can happen in within minutes. Then short probes do have some disadvantages. They are subject to more non-specific hybridization, are limited in specificity, and are more difficult to label. Yeah, for this particular point, I will tell you. See, if I have a very short probe, okay, say for 10 nucleotide bases, a short probe, and I have a DNA template which is this big, okay, then the specificity of this probe to attach to this DNA might be not, it might not be perfect. Okay, this short probe can get attached over here, can get attached over here, can get attached over here. It could be a mismatch that can happen, that we do not know. So hence the limited specificity could be a problem with the short probes. So but in at the same time, if I have this DNA, and then I have longer probes. Longer probe which could be a size of 1,100 nucleotide base pairs, maybe same as that of my DNA or target DNA which I'm trying to analyze. Then the specificity will be higher because the complementary reaction will be the same, because there are no chances that this large DNA can bind to some other bases or some other part of DNA, because they are very long. So they are very specific about their action, and then they bind to those particular nucleotides because they are longer. So they don't have any issue. We don't face any issue with this longer DNA getting attached to some other parts of the DNA, target DNA. Okay, so that is what it is. So long, uh, just a minute. So long probes hybridize more stably than short probes at high temperatures and low salt concentration, low stringency. Okay. So this is what it is. So short probes are better if you want the reactions to happen within a lesser period of time, and large probes are better if you want to have a much more stabilized product. Okay, so I take back what I said little bit 2 minutes ago. And so depending on the time you are willing to spend on the reaction, and depending on the product stability you want, depending on that you can select what kind of a probe you want, whether you want a short probe or you want a longer probe. So a nucleic acid probe is basically as a short single nucleotide, single stranded molecule of radioactively labeled or fluorescently labeled DNA or RNA. So you have single stranded DNA, as you can see over here, and this is your radioactive DNA probe, which is going to bind to this DNA, single stranded DNA, and you will get the signal accordingly. Base pairing indicates the gene of interest. So I see, basically, if I tell you in a very simple way that I have a very long strand of DNA and I want to target one specific sequence on that DNA. I want to just know कि ये see, for example, if I tell you for a disease, the DNA sequence on a particular DNA, that particular nucleotide sequence, for say example sickle cell anemia, उसका sequence है ATGCCBP ठीक सॉरी B कहाँ से आ गया ATGC ATC maybe ठीक है. So I want to target this particular sequence only, just to know that whether that person is having that particular type of anemia or not. So I'll be designing a probe which will complement with this sequence, and I will make it radio labeled or fluorescent labeled. So what will happen if I'll do the DNA extraction, okay, and I will make sure that double-stranded DNA by heating them for a little while, it will become single-stranded, okay, and then once I have a single-stranded DNA, I'll be adding the probe, right? Or I have already added the probe, and I will let the reaction to get hybridized. So wherever that sequence is there, that sickle cell anemia sequence is there, there my probe will go and get attached, huh? And then it will give me a fluorescent signal, right, or radio labeled signal. So once I have that signal, I know that that particular sequence of DNA that I'm looking for, which signifies that a person is suffering from sickle cell anemia, will be determined, right? So that is how you can use the nucleic acid probes and the RNA probes. So if you have sequence of DNA of your interest, you can just design the complementary probes and just use them for diagnostic purposes, right? So this is what the nucleic acid probes means, and this is very nice explanation, diagrammatic explanation of the same. Then specificity of the probe. So the base sequence of the probe and the condition under which the probe is used determine its specificity. So the base sequence of the probe and the conditions under which probe is used determine its specificity. In the sense, uh, like how exactly you have designed that probe, and how exactly you want that, how exactly it is best fit for the uh, strand of DNA that you're looking for. Best fit in the sense how exactly, how nicely the bases are getting complemented with each other. So that is how the base sequence and the condition. So the condition, what all conditions you are giving, whether you're giving adequate temperature, the ions that are required, then the polymerase that are required, that will determine the specificity of the probe. So all the required conditions along with the sequence of the probe are very essential for achieving this specificity that you require for diagnostic purpose, right? Of a DNA sequence. Okay. So then labeling methods. So there are many labeling methods. What do you mean by labeling methods over here? So I want to design a probe. Okay. So I by now I know that probe is nothing but a DNA या फिर RNA sequence. So short sequence of DNA or RNA. So this is what is my probe. Okay. But this probe I have to label it. Okay. I have to either label it fluorescently, I'll have to either label it I have to put a radio element over there so that I can use this further for uh, detecting unknown sequencing या फिर detecting some disease sequence or something like that. So first, I know that I can use this particular sequence as a probe. I have to make sure that I will be labeling this probe. Okay. So how exactly will you go ahead and label is whatever label is used, it has to be attached or incorporated into the nucleic acid probe. Here are 5 methods of labeling of the probe: nick translation, primer extension, RNA polymerase, end labeling, and direct labeling. So this is these are the methods which will be used for labeling of the probes. Okay, so how exactly this each method works, we'll see. Let me clear this annotations. Okay, so nick translation, nick is nothing but making a gap or cutting. Okay, so it involves introducing single standard breaks, nicks by endonuclease in DNA, leaving exposed 3 hydroxyl termini and 5 hydroxy phosphate termini. So nick serves as a start point for introducing new nucleotides at the 3 hydroxyl site using DNA polymerase. So you will be having one exposed end after making a nick, okay, which will be a hydroxyl end, and 5 hydroxy phosphate termini. And as a result, the nick will be moved progressively along the DNA. That means it will be translated in 5 dash to 3 dash direction. So this is very simple logic to understand. Okay. Because whenever we have nick, if we have the polymerase with us, then we can proceed in the one direction only, which is 5 dash to 3 dash. When I'm talking about 5 dash to 3 dash direction, I need not explain you the basic DNA structure, but you all must know it that we have a DNA strand, okay, 3 dash to 5 dash, right, and 5 dash to 3 dash. So I'll be making a nick in such a way that it can proceed in a direction of 5 dash to 3 dash. So the synthesis reaction will allows the incorporation of labeled nucleotide in place of the previously existing unlabeled. So basically I'll be making a nick here, maybe, okay, and after that the nick is done. This nick will be replaced by, means this gap which will be gone, right? And which will be replaced by a label nucleotide. Okay, so which will be called as the label, which we call as a probe, for which we will be doing the labeling part. Okay, so that is what it is. Then I will go ahead on the next slide. I hope we are clear till here. Are we clear, Tanuja, Shabdali? Are we clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we have, so yeah, moving on. So we have this particular sequence of DNA or the probe, okay, and then we have to do what over here? Yes. So we have this labeled probe, okay, and because it's written PP here, so I'm not understanding whether this is labeled or what. But yeah, just let us understand the simple reaction. So you have this particular sequence of DNA, okay. So you have this particular sequence of DNA over here, okay, this whole sequence of DNA, and then you have a DNase enzyme. Nase, when we say it is, it will be always endonuclease. Okay, so whenever we have a ASE at the end of enzyme, that means it's an enzyme which will cut the DNA. So this DNase enzyme, the pancreatic DNase enzyme, will make a cut over here. Okay, so the exonuclease polymerase is exonuclease plus polymerase. So polymerase will be required by you. So the nick is already been formed. Okay, over here with the help of pancreatic DNase, that is your endonuclease enzyme, right? And in with the help of exonuclease enzyme and the polymerase enzyme, this nick will be filled up with this particular sequence, which is labeled. You can see over here, this is labeled over here, and this is what the final product will be getting. Okay, so this final product is the double stranded DNA, which is labeled. Okay, and this whole nick has been, this particular nick part is been, or the cut part of the DNA has been filled with the labeled probe. Okay, so that is, it's very simple to understand uh, what exactly. So simply you have to take a DNA, you have to make a cut and replace that cut nucleotides with the labeled nucleotides. Okay, and for that you will be needing, for cutting the DNA, you will be needing endonuclease, and filling the DNA, filling the gaps between the DNA, you will be needing polymerase and exonuclease and your labeled labeled DNA, say labeled DNTPs. Okay, DNTPs means you need labeled ATGC, right? Because this labeled ATGC will come and bind over here. Okay, so basically you need same as that of a replication reaction or translation reaction to fill up this gap. Okay, then based on hybridization of a mixture of all possible hexa nucleotides, the starting DNA is denatured and the cooled slowly so that the individually hexanucleotides can bind to suitably complementary sequences within the DNA strand. So this explanation is explaining you about the same diagram that I just told you about. Okay. So the DNA synthesis occurs in the presence of 4 DNTPs, at least one of which has to be labeled group, with one of which has a labeled group. Okay, so you can be very specific also. You can only label A, you can only label T, you can only label G, you can only label C, and accordingly you can get a whole probe of DNA which will be then labeled. So whole sequence of DNA over here, this particular part, which will be labeled. Okay. Okay. So it's simple over here. Also, they have shown it, the same. So denature and anneal in presence of the mixture of the random hexanucleotides. So you have this DNA strand, double stranded, which has been separated, taken, and the nicks are been formed. Then you can clino subunit of DNA poly. Clino subunit of DNA polymerase is nothing but you need an enzyme which will be exonuclease and DNA polymerase to continue the reaction. And see, wherever there are nicks, the gaps that are being formed due to endonuclease will be filled up by the this labeled probes. So what is the key? This particular part indicates the labeled nucleotide. So you have now this part of the DNA which is now labeled. Okay, so you can use this whole part of the DNA for further detection, or you can either use this labeled nucleotide for detecting few nucleotides on your DNA. Okay, so basically, this particular Nick translation method only explains you about how exactly you can form a DNA probe which will be labeled. Okay, the it is very easy to label a single nucleotide, but it will be difficult for you to form a whole different sequence of the nucleotide which will be labeled. So this is one of the method which you can use, in which you will be getting a short sequence of DNA which will be labeled. Okay. Then next is primer extension. So primer extension is another method of forming the DNA probe. So DNA of interest is denatured to give single strands. Then random primer sequences are added, or sequences unique to particular sequence of interest are added. Then DNA polymerase is added together with the nucleotide, labeled nucleotides. And the complementary DNA strands are synthesized starting from the primary sequences and incorporating the labeled nucleotides. So there is a partial filling of the gaps between the primers. So DNA is then denatured to release the labeled probe molecule. So how does this look exactly? It's shown over here. So uh, denature and annealing with the random primers. Primers are nothing but again they are the short sequences of nucleotide. So primers are nothing but they are same as that of short sequences of nucleotide. So once what you'll do first is you will denature the double-stranded DNA. So denaturing means double stranded जो है उसको single stranded बनाना है. फिर you will be adding random primers. So or random primers are already there in the mixture. So these random primers will have some complementary bases on this DNA and they will get attached. So these red ones are called as what? Random primers. Then you have clino fragment and exo DNTP labeled DNTP. Okay. So you will be having all the material which are required for this extension of these primers. In the sense, this particular small sequence of primers is already been attached to DNA. Now further sequence, further part of the DNA has to be sequenced. In the sense, just a minute, let me cut this off. Mhm. So this particular part of the DNA has to be sequenced further like this. Okay. So this primer is attached and it will be sequencing from which direction? Pi dash to 3 dash, right? This is the 3 dash direction. So that means what, you have already attached one primer over here, and the extension of that primer will be taking place in the further reaction. It is same as that of polymerase chain reaction, in which you attach a simple small primer to the target DNA and you allow the extension of those primers further. Okay, then you have primer attached over here, then you have extension with the labeled DNTPs, with the help of labeled DNTPs, and then further you again go and denature. Then what you have is you have random primers with the label. You can either get the random primers only or you can get the labeled probe. ठीक है. So end में मुझे क्या मिला है? I have got the labeled probe. In Nick translation also, once if I denature this particular DNA that I have got, which have the labeled DNTPs, I'll be getting only this much of the sequence. I'll be getting only denature means if I denature this, I'll be getting only this much of the part, which I can use as a DNA probe. Okay, so you have to understand this part. What do you mean by denaturing? So denaturing means double stranded DNA को single stranded banana will be called as what? Denaturing. You have to know this part. Then end labeling of DNA. So there are two methods that we have learned by far, is nothing but you have nick translation. So you'll be making a nick and then you will be allowing those nicks to be filled by the labeled DNTPs. And another one is your primer extension, which is nothing but you'll be denaturing the double-stranded DNA. Then you will be adding the primers. Okay, those primers will get attached to the short part of the DNA, target DNA, required DNA, and then those further extension of that primers will be happening as you proceed further into the reaction. And once you denature that again, so over here we have got the double-stranded DNA again, right? This is double-stranded. This whole part is double-stranded DNA. So if I denature this, I'll be getting this single-strand DNA probe, which is labeled, right? So I just want to make this part clear, especially for the people who are new. Okay, because probes are very basic understanding of what you say of this sequencing, या फिर DNA sequencing methods or something like that. You have to know what do you mean by probe and probes किसके लिए use किए जाते हैं. So we learned about the two methods. One was Nick translation and primer extension. Next is end labeling of DNA. So single-stranded oligonucleotides are usually end labeled using polynucleotide kinase end labeling, and label is provided in the form of 32 phosphorus or phosphate at the gamma phosphate position of ATP, and the polynucleotide kinase catalysis and exchange reaction with the 5' terminal phosphate. So basically you will be replacing the 5' terminal phosphate with the labeled phosphate. That is what it is called as the end labeling. So the same procedure can also be used for labeling double-stranded DNA. Okay, so here fragments carrying label at the end end only can then be generated by cleavage at the internal restriction site and generating two differently sized fragments which can be separated by gel electrophoresis and labeled, purified. So we'll see how exactly this works. So you have 5' phosphate group and 3'. So then you will be adding a polynucleotide kinase over here. Okay. So you once you add the polynucleotide kinase, which will be having uh, labeled phosphorus group, and which will be replaced at this particular 5' phosphate site. Okay. So that is what will be called as your end labeling, and this is for the single stranded. Okay, you can do the same for the double stranded as well. You have to select a DNA, digest with the restriction endonuclease to give the 5' overhang. So what do you mean by restriction enzymes? We actually have only 2 minutes left, so we can start over this part whenever we start tomorrow again. So tomorrow we'll start with this particular part again. Okay. And end labeling is nothing but you will be labeling the end of the DNA with the particularly labeled nucleotide or phosphate group. So that will be, so one of the method we can use for single stranded DNA is polynucleotide kinase, in which you will be having this particular sequence which is uh, which will this particular sequence which will be replacing this a I'm so sorry for this is which will be replacing this a triple p. Okay, which will happen at the 5' end of the DNA, and you will get the DNA which is labeled at the end, and hence it is called as end labeling of DNA. Okay, so this is for single stranded. How we will do it for the double stranded, that we will see in the next lecture. Are there any doubts by far in this? So we are just continuing one of the topics that we had started earlier, and we took so much of time to learn about the clinical trials or something like that. So hence we are now continuing with uh, the same topic that we had left few days ago. If there are any doubts, you can tell me in the chat box, or we can sign off for the day. Are we clear? Okay. Okay, then I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11:30. Okay. See you all.